All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into my talk today. I hope you're doing well and having a good platform con so far. As the title suggests, I'll be talking about our platform engineering journey here at Workleap. It's something we've started about 3 years ago. So, just thought it would be good to share what made us successful, the missteps that we've had, so that anyone thinking about starting platform engineering at their workplace can benefit from it. It will not be a silver bullet presentation about what you should do step by step to make your platform engineering successful, but at least I hope you can get some pointers out of this and learn from what we've done. But before we start, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Guillaume Caya Letourneau. I live in Montreal, and I've been a .NET dev for many years and a software engineer at Workleap for the past few years. I'm also an MTG enthusiast, and I sometimes like to fiddle with woodworking on the weekends. So now you know about me. So the question that I got asked a couple of times while after I presented platform engineering at a conference last year was, "This looks like really good and promising for my workplace, but I don't know where to begin." And that's a fair question. So let's see where at Workleap we started from. And I would say at first it's a good idea to build your use case or your business case about why platform engineering would be beneficial for your company, for your workplace, and then present that to higher management, director or VP or whatever makes more sense within your workplace. So present that business case. Probably a good time to also talk about if you want to have a dedicated team or just have people still stay with their existing team, but be more a little bit more focused towards platform engineering. So in terms of budget, that'll make quite the difference. In our case, at Workleap, we chose to go with a dedicated team for the reason that we wanted engineers to be fully focused on building our platform and not necessarily distracted with everyday work from the products that they were already working on. But that is something to consider in terms of budgets that you can get. Obviously, the budget team needs to be higher if you're fully dedicated to working on platform engineering, as opposed to maybe being just integrated into your own existing team. And probably a good idea to come up with either one or two options as to what you could be working on at first, so that you have already an idea of what you can work on to bring quick value and show real progress quite quickly, right? All right, so let's say you've been successful at presenting your business case for platform engineering. You've successfully got backing from, let's say, a director or a VP, and you were successful in unlocking some budget. Now you're probably thinking about who's going to be part of that team that you want to build. And that's really something important, is the initial team setup that can really have a huge impact on if your initiative is going to be successful or not. So first thing, probably going to want to look for technical people, as what you're going to be working on and what you're going to build within your platform has potential impact throughout the whole company, right? The whole engineering department might be impacted by this. So having a good technical background, preferable, but also, if you can, having someone that has been at the company for a couple of years and who can bring some also historical knowledge of what's been done previously at the company can also be really beneficial, as they might have some tribal knowledge of certain things that have been done or have happened in the past that will have an impact on what you're doing. You really other important point is you should think about if you want to treat your platform just like you would treat any other product you're selling uh, to customers outside of the company. We indeed chose to do it as a product within here at Workleap, and it was something beneficial. It's not necessarily the easiest path to go to, but it has its benefits as nothing gets imposed onto engineers in terms of adopting what you're building. So really, you got to work to promote what you're building, and then adoption really comes from you building the right thing for them, and then as well the feedback that you get from them using it also helps you build and then improve upon what you're building, as opposed to if you weren't going to treat your platform as a product, then it might be forced onto teams, and then at that point, how do you know you're building the right thing? Because just people are forced to use it, right? So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily answering uh, what their needs and their pains. It's more like they've been told to use it, so they use it. And then if you're gonna build your platform and treat it just like any other product you would, it's just as important as technical skills. It's probably as important to look for people who have good soft skills, as you're gonna be asked to do more user interviews, gathering feedbacks and stuff. So it's good to have empathetic people, or people with good soft skills, right? And then uh, other important thing I think that we did here at Workleap while defining our team was also sit with everyone who was going to be part of the team. So at first it was we had one manager and three devs, and just define some common grounds and values that we want to represent. And then, why is that important? Is that your mission is a bit different from, let's say, what you would see as a typical feature developing team for a product, where you're gonna have to put on a lot more hats than just the engineer. So as I said, if you decide to treat your platform as a product, you might be asked to do a bit more product management tasks from time to time, or yeah, just going and gathering some feedback, and being open to what people have to say to what you're building, which is sometimes things that we're not necessarily exposed to as much as devs. So, for example, in our case, we defined some common values that we said were super important. Were to be open minded. We wanted to be humble and not assume just because we've been devs before that we know what people really want, right? And then just never assume anything. Be open to feedback, and yeah, generally just have yeah, just really have openness to what people have to say about your product. Take it in, and then that'll build a great product for you. So once the team is all set up, you've talked with the other devs, and you're all good to go. It's probably time to choose which building block you're gonna start working on first. Uh, and in terms of how to choose, it's probably best to take something that is going to be done relatively quickly, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, something like that, so that you can just quickly show the value that your team is bringing to other engineering teams, and not take, let's say, a full year before delivering something, and then management is left really wondering like why they're spending so much within your team when they're not necessarily getting anything. In our case, we started with scaffolding new services capabilities. So just being able to create new services quicker. So should you start with this or something else? It really depends on what's the landscape within your company. I wouldn't say it's a good choice or a bad choice. In our case, it just so happened that the opportunity was there in terms of when we were ready to start working on something, and then the time that a certain product team would need those to create a new service. We determined that it was possible for us within that timeline to build something that would accelerate such a team and answer what they needed. So we decided to go with this. But just yeah, look at the landscape, find something that fits within your platform team that isn't too big or of a challenge to build, and then work closely with that team, build a relationship with that team, and then deliver it what they need. So I said we already had one building blocks that we wanted to work on at first. So we started working on this closely with a team that was going to use it for a few months. And so afterwards, where were we after a few months? Well, within the timeline that we set out to, we delivered this first offering of being able to create services faster. It was used by the team that we worked with, and the the outcome was mostly positive. Right, we got some pretty good feedback. Metrics, I would say, at this point we still kept it pretty much in terms of rough estimate and qualitative metrics. We didn't have any very hard quantitative metrics, but it's okay, right? You at this point you're still fairly new into what you're building, so you just want to get enough uh, to prove that what you're building is useful, and then later on you can start thinking about putting in more quantitative metrics that you can link to the business objectives. But at first, right, it's okay, you can get by with just qualitative metrics and feedback or testimonies from the devs that have used what you've built. What I will say is, do not wait too long into thinking about building your or what quantitative metrics you want to build into your offering. Better to think about it sooner than later, and I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. But at first, don't sweat it. It's okay with just yeah, rough metrics. Otherwise, at that point, a few months in our journey, we're still trying to get people to understand what we're trying to do. So it's still unclear for some teams that haven't really used what we're offering to. It's still unclear to them what we're trying to do or what's our purpose within the company. So as we're treating our offerings or our platform as a product, it's on us to market it to other teams and make it visible wherever we can. So that's why at that time and still today we were experimenting with some different, I would say, marketing strategies, but just different ways to make ourselves visible and showcase as much as possible what we're trying to do, so that uh, adoption picks up, right? um, Different examples of marketing that we were trying to do. So obviously posts within slacks or teams or such tools that you're using whenever we were releasing something or we saw an opportunity. We were trying to present as much as possible what we're doing within, if you have certain, let's say, town hall meetings or the equivalent where you can reach out to other engineers. That's also a good idea. And we even went a bit outside of the box, I would say, but it was very beneficial. So a couple of times when the timing was right, we brought in a dev from another team, integrated that person within our team to work with us for maybe 1 or 2 months, then really show them, right, what the thinking we had, what we're trying to build and why. And so afterwards, that person not only has contributed to building something within your platform, but also now has a better grasp of what you're trying to do, and then can bring that knowledge or spread that knowledge when they go back to their team or their product, and then has sort of spreading effect within our team. So that's something we found out was very beneficial, but not necessarily the easiest to execute. As you have to sync up with what you're trying to do, and then find a team that is able to sort of lend you someone or some dev to come work with you. But if possible, a very efficient way of doing. So to sum up what I've just said, after about 8 months or so, we're still in the early adopter phase of our product journey, right? We haven't crossed the chasm yet, so still okay to work off of rough metrics and still still very important to put a lot of effort into marketing and being out there and showing to others what you're building. If you're not familiar with the chasm, what I've just mentioned is that product adoption curve here, where at that point in our journey we were still, let's say, in the early adopter phase, and then still we're still at risk of sort of not making it past that chasm where we would basically kind of fail, or adoption wouldn't keep on going. And so that's why it's really important to put a lot of effort into uh, getting people to understand, and really getting people to understand, but also seeing for themselves, promoting the value and seeing for themselves the value that you guys are bringing, so you can transition into early majority. So we're now about, or almost 3 years into our platform engineering journey, and then we can ask the question: how did we keep having success? Mostly, we tried as much as possible to stay relevant. We kept with our strategy of treating our platform as a product. As much as possible, we wanted adoption to be natural, and then because people saw value into what we were building, never did we start forcing anyone to use what we were building. It really came from us advertising and working our relationship with the other teams, which is not necessarily easy. It can take a little while to build that trust with other teams, but you'll see over time, more and more, the more you build that trust, the more you build that relationship, the more those engineering teams will be alert to what the new products that you're building, or the new value that you're delivering, and the more they'll stay aware of it, and adoption will pick up even faster. We obviously also kept growing our product offering. So I mentioned before, we started with being able to build new services more rapidly. Well, we also built, let's say, other libraries to help people connect with certain technologies more easily, or in a more standard way, for it to be standard across the company. It's good to know that at that point, let's say within 2 years of our existence, we still mostly work with application offerings, so libraries and such, like the scaffolding capabilities as well. We also built tooling around improving local development experience, because that was one of the big pain points within the company, and we still really had not built any, what you would think traditionally as platform, in terms of the platform where you would deploy onto, or tooling around a deployment. That is still something to come, but it's just to say that you can have a successful platform engineering journey without necessarily having to tackle yet infrastructure pieces yet, right? We also important started pivoting towards using more quantitative metrics, and moving away from rough and qualitative metrics, just so you're better able to tie those into business objective, which at some point it becomes really important to be able to do this. So for example, let's say that one offering that you have has helped prevent past incidents from re-happening. Well, then you can tie those up to money saved from the company from potential outages that you guys prevented. So really important. So I said we tried to stay as relevant as possible, and then so far we've been mostly successful. But that doesn't mean we didn't have our missteps along the way and our learnings. First one is we had a tendency, or it happened that we left certain offerings without building new value into it for too long. So, for example, the very first offering that we built of being able to scaffold quickly services was pretty good for a first version, but it was missing a lot of nice to haves in it, and yeah, just a good value that we could have brought to it. But we turned our focus to building other offerings to put into our platform, and then we kind of left that one for a few months without anything, and uh, we saw actually a decrease in adoption, and people not necessarily who wanted to use it then turned to other uh, custom built solution, let's say, or other alternatives from instead of using what we were offering. And then we had to really start asking questions, and then we realized, those people were they were missing value from our offering, and then we kind of had left this one sit for too long. So to remember here is that, yeah, don't ever think that something's really fully finished. There might always be something to add to it, and not just let it sit to kind of rot away on a shelf. Not really good for necessarily your adoption. um, I mentioned at some point we started pivoting in terms of metrics and try to tie those into business objectives. We did it, but maybe a little on the later end of what we should have done. So it really came in at some point where upper management in the company had changed a little bit. We the director that helped us start our platform team left the company, and then another one came in to replace, and then they just directors and VPs just started asking questions, looked at the company and started asking, well, what are you guys doing? What value are you bringing? And we almost got ourselves caught our pens down. Everything was good, but yeah, they were wondering, like, they see this team with a lot of experienced engineer, and they're thinking, well, is it really the best place for them to be working on, or should we take that team and then redistribute those to help within our product lines, just to improve those products, which technically, right, the products that you're building and selling to outside clients are the ones bringing in the money, and then the your platform team is not necessarily directly bringing in any money to the company, right? It's doing so indirectly through those product teams that have adopted what you're building. So it just goes to say, from what I've said earlier, it's good to be thinking about having good metrics that you can link to business objectives earlier than not, so that you don't get caught in such a situation where um, they might be thinking to dissolve your team or readjust what you're doing. We also realized at some point we weren't necessarily adapting our sales pitch too much. So really, there was a point where we were focusing on saying, yeah, what we're building, the objective is to try and improve developer experience within the company, which is true, but that doesn't necessarily always speak too much to higher management and such. So just being able to adapt the way you present what you're building, not necessarily changing what you're building itself, but just adapt the way you say it to match with really the objectives of the company and what they're looking for, uh, will really help get upper management understand the value that you're bringing, instead of sticking to maybe one sales pitch that worked for you, but that doesn't mean anything, or that doesn't mean much for them. And last point, um, after 3 years, we considering what we built, we covered a wide variety of needs, to a point where it started to be maybe a little demanding to maintain all of those. And so right now we're just scaling a little bit back to refocus our efforts onto what really matters, instead of covering really wide but not going necessarily too deep into what we're building. So what's next for us? Probably going to build more. We plan to build more infra and deployment offerings. So maybe what you would typically think of, what uh, what would be built within a platform team, and it's something that I've said, yeah, we haven't really tackled yet. Yet we've been successful, but this is coming for us within this year. We want to also increase the number of self-service workflow we offer. So through our developer portal, we want to just build even more automation. Right now, we have a lot of offering and some good documentation as to how to adopt it. We just want to make it even simpler for people to be able to use what we offer. And then, as I've said, we want to refocus our effort into going deeper into solving certain problems instead of going wide into what we're building. And that's it. Thank you for listening to what I had to say. I feel like it's a really short period, a short amount of time to be saying all of this. Could have gone on for so much more longer, but yeah, had to make it fit. Please, if you have some feedback about that presentation, scan the QR code and give me your feedback. It's really appreciated. If you had more question, I guess you can reach me on LinkedIn and such. But yeah, thank you. Enjoy PlatformCon.